What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, what really moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go down 1.61%, so lagged the broader market today. Kind of low volume as well, so 31.2 million shares being traded, 41.1 is the average. No actual news from the company itself, as you can kind of see. There was just a 144 they just submitted at 4:03 p.m. today. As soon as I saw that, immediately I was like, oh, poor Jeremy, like that damn rough divorce. But I opened it and it wasn't actually Jeremy, it was this individual right here. So, which is a affiliate, 28,000 shares, so nothing crazy, but still not necessarily the best. I guess maybe it's a positive thing that it wasn't Jeremy. Maybe his divorce is probably not over. But anyways, aside from Jeremy and all that fun jazz, you had SoFi pretty much lagging the broader market straight out the gate. So you had data that did come out first thing. So manufacturing data, forecast was 48.6, actual was 47. So once again, this is now the third consecutive report below 50, showing more of a contraction within the broader market. As a byproduct of that, once again, you're having the likelihood for the November 7th meeting increase for cuts, for a 50 basis point cut. So right now there is a 54.8% likelihood of that 50, and then a 45.2 of that 25. And then for the December 18th, you have a consensus for a 25 for the most part. So yeah, I think in general, that's what really fueled some stocks today. Just maybe ones that are linked to consumers. Those are the ones that were directly getting hit quite hard, but honestly, there's no rhyme or reason. We already know that SoFi is heavily manipulated and whatever else. So shorts today did return 903,000 shares. 18.3% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 192.33 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 0.96. Again, I'm sure some of you might be wondering, it's like, well, if shorts are returning, that adds buying pressure. How did SoFi end up in the situation it did? And that's ultimately because there was a overwhelming amount of selling coming from institutions. So 1.07 million, 1.5, 9.66, a couple buys first thing, but that was kind of at that 808, and there was one big one, so 2.39 million, but aside from that, overwhelming amount of selling. Even on the dark pool, very popular, a lot of selling clearly happening there, and it was just not a good scenario. And one thing that I do want to bring up that's maybe the most optimistic point for this whole video. So there was 4.52 million in calls, 1.59 million in puts. 48% of all the options being done today were bearish, but there was this right here. So 66,000 in premiums between 120 and 125. And ultimately, if you do look at these transactions, organize it by premium, it's a lot of bullish, small, multiple bullish transactions. And it all is around the $14 calls. And so $14 strike price, expiry date is November 15th. So clearly they are trying to target SoFi's upcoming unannounced earnings, but we already know it's coming fairly soon, right? So maybe that's a good thing. Some entities out there are anticipating $14, and normally this is coupled with like a multi-leg strategy. So you have a bearish to counter the bullish options, but that wasn't done. So whoever did buy, I get not that much money, maybe $66,000, could be retail, could be an entity out there, but someone feels $14 is realistic. So once again, something to kind of consider, ponder, and everything else that you need to know. But looking at the call options that were purchased, you see a consensus for it to be around the $8.59, some optimism around that $9 range for the foreseeable future. Then this is where that $14 one, so quite a lot, 20,000 in fact. This is the open interest for this upcoming week. So with it right now at wherever it is, sub $8. So you have currently 2,000 at the 750, 7,000 at the 8, 5,000 at that, oh god, I'm reading the wrong one, sorry about that. So 6,000 at 750, 15,000 at 8, and 30,000 at 850. That's more like it. Somehow I was wondering, like, this is very low, but so you have a big wall at 850. In theory, I wouldn't really count SoFi down and out for that $8 strike price just yet, because 15,000 isn't all that much. So again, that could really, SoFi is in the game still. Like I said, SoFi's technicals are cautiously optimistic. Right now, with it at $7.92, it is trading between this S3 and this S2. So 788 will be a strong support, and then 796 will be that next strong resistance slash target. And I'm looking at the 1 minute chart on a side note. So kind of just take note of some of the strong support and resistance points, because in SoFi's case, I think the technicals do play a very big part in where it does move and kind of where it settles for the most part. And like I said, even though it did consolidate a little bit over the last several trading days, things are still good. Overall, it still is higher percentile, still above a lot of the key pivotal moving averages. Stochastic, though, you do see it as overbought. So the first sign of weakness, you could see a pullback as what typically does happen. But honestly, I don't really see anything to really worry about with SoFi. There is typically that FOMO run into their earnings. So most likely in the next 2 to 3 weeks, SoFi will be announcing their earnings. So you could see a nice run up as a byproduct of that. So as long as it is still creating higher highs and higher lows for the most part, so as long as it kind of stays above that $7 range, the technicals are still a-okay, if you ask me. So by it kind of correcting back to, let's say, that 750 for argument's sake, that would really reset the stochastic as well, and again giving it a good momentum to really push higher. Number of retail investors did buy. So even though large entities were not buying today, retail was. So let me know your thoughts on, for instance, the insiders selling, with the exception of Jeremy. He kind of gets a pass given his circumstances. What's your thoughts on shorts? SoFi, on a side note, I cover quite a few different stocks. SoFi seems to be the only stock out there that shorts have been consecutively returning for basically a week and a half now. So I guess that's deserving of a round of applause. But I guess on the flip side, big money is not really buying it. So it's kind of maybe a partial half positive, if that makes sense. So what's your guys' thoughts on SoFi? Have you guys been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing? And yeah, with all that said, I appreciate all of you guys watching.